Let's meet Dr. Bimol Akoijam. I think I'm pronouncing it right.
Yeah,
who is the
perfect.
Congress candidate for the Inner Lok Sabha elections 2024. With his announcement as the candidate, many believe that his image has changed the perspective for the voters, especially for the first-time voters in Manipur, in the Inner Assembly. He has long been involved in the public issues and democratic movements as well. Today, I'm really happy to have him with me to talk to us on his journey as a politician and also what lies ahead. So first of all, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So Kapiting Choi is a team from Chirabati. It's called Good Morning in Maram dialect.
Okay.
Kapiting Choi means good morning.
Kapiting
so yeah,
Choi,
I think we still have that time to wish. So sir, since we have very limited time, thank you so much for giving us your valuable time. So I have been following you for some time now, and then I've been saying that many people has asked you about how you have joined this field of politics. So I just wanted to ask, firstly, like, did you have political ambitions from the past?
No, absolutely not. I have no whatsoever political ambition of being ministers, or even I never thought in my life that I would be fighting election.
Oh, okay.
Never, ever. And this is, circumstances have compelled me in some sense. It's a choice that I've made.
Okay.
And the compel doesn't mean that I don't exercise my choice. I'm saying that looking at the circumstances, I have taken this decision that I should join the electoral politics and try to represent my people. Because I've been speaking about people, issues and concerns as a citizen, as a member of the intellectual class. Following what people say, the intellectual must speak truth to power. So that's what I have been doing it. But many people saying that it has become a sideshow.
Okay.
So, and that's why I decided, let me say the same thing as a member of parliament, as a people's representative, and the implications would be very different. I realized that.
And the party
That's why I joined.
Has nothing to do with it? Or?
It has something to do. A lot of parties have actually asked me to contest elections, for quite some time.
Okay.
And I laughed those things off, because it was not part of my job. I love my profession as an academic. It's in my blood. I don't think I can ever leave this part, even if I become a member of parliament, doing research, delivering lectures, consultations, providing consultation to research scholars. That will remain even if I retire from my job. You should remember that unlike many other professions such as doctors and teachers, researchers, there is no retirement. You continue to do that one. So I will still do it. I love my profession, but given the situation in Manipur, which I have been observing for decades, I thought that, rather than speaking outside the spectrum as a sideshow, which many people take it as a sideshow, so I decided to join politics, in electoral politics to be precise, because politics is everywhere. That's why I decided to come in.
So the particular segment, the audience mostly will have tribal viewers, mostly for this YouTube channel. So this has to come up, the unthinkable, the unfortunate mayhem Haira. That thing has come up, the May 3rd event. I mean, mayhem that is still being continuing.
Yeah.
So that does that have an influence for you too?
Yeah, you should remember one thing, that there has been sort of an estrangement among communities. In our relations among communities, despite our rhetoric, fact remains that there are misunderstanding and certain kinds of estrangement among communities, among various communities, be that among the ST community themselves, or between the ST and the non-ST, or even within the non-ST also you have, conflicts and estrangement. So our state is known for this. My position is as simple as this, that we are wasting our energy on this. We must try to find a common ground as well, while celebrating the differences. Nobody should be asking for flattening the differences. We should celebrate differences, but we should not be overwhelmed by differences. In fact, there's something that Sigmund Freud once called, narcissism of these small differences. We have so much similarities as well, and the fact that we are inhabitant of this compact small territory, it makes more sense to find out our common goods, to work together. Because if you look at, for instance, the global wave of neoliberal economic processes, extractive economy, the forces from outside will sweep the region. Instead of gearing up ourselves to confront these challenges, which implicate all of us, we are distracting our energy and mind in this petty, and as I said, as Freud says, harping on this narcissism of the small differences. So my idea is that we should be working together.
Yeah, that's true.
And to find, and this is not, there's a rationale behind it. There are economic rationale, there are political rationale why we ought to be working together. And my dream has been to create a Manipur where every community can lead life with dignity and well-being, within harmonious relations among us, while celebrating our differences as well. And that's the beautiful place that called Manipur.
I think what you just explained has answered to many other questions that I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
So I've been talking to some few scholars, some few professors or colleagues that I'll be meeting, Dr. Bimol. So if you guys want to throw in anything,
Yeah,
please
that's
throw in,
most
because
welcome.
I think he's someone who can.
And I'm not going to pretend. I want to say,
Yes,
call
yes,
spade a
yes.
spade.
Exactly. So we don't do politics also, to be very honest. But then with you, I feel like the young dynamics of the tribals and also the Meteis will have a very different perspective after listening to you also.
Yeah.
So I have to come to this, the tribal demand by the Meteis. So I mean, like, there has been many people who were telling me, like, if you were going to talk to him, just ask his view on it, and then how much do they deserve the ST?
Yeah, that's this. See, listen, one thing, this is crucial, especially not those politicians and playing, games around the ST issue. One should be very clear. We need to understand this at multi-layered nature.
I think that has been the mindset of the voters also.
So we need to understand one thing. At one level, the idea of tribe is primitive, backward. These are pejorative terms. You know, that is why the inequality has been created. If some community think themselves as, within quote, superior, and the other as a primitive and a backward, these nomenclatures and ideas are rooted in, a 19th century anthropological concept. It's a part of colonial baggage. And we started defining ourselves as primitive and backward. The differences have been created because of that. I think this was understood by Government of India as well. So in 2014, led by the Secretary of the Tribal Welfare, formed a committee to look into the criteria of inclusion of certain communities into ST. And they have recommended, the report was submitted in 2015, said terms like primitive must be removed because it is pejorative. So I think we need to understand this first. The idea of ST is rooted in these anthropological conceptions which create a very bad self-esteem to our people. So I think this is the first thing we must understand. These are exogenously defined ideas about who we are. So in that sense, there are fundamental mindscape that we need to change. Now, on the other hand, given the scenario, there are certain constitutional protections that are given to certain communities. So one of the communities is what we term as tribal. And you should know this anthropological debate in India. Traditionally speaking, whoever falls outside of the within civilizational religion like Islam and Hinduism and Christianity, they are what they are called tribal. In India, it is essentially outside of the fold of Hinduism and Islam are considered to be tribal, and rest are looked as caste. So there's a caste tribal debate in India for a long time. So unfortunately, we have incorporated this framework and look ourselves in that sense. Therefore, Meteis were excluded from the category, and it was actually suggested even as recent as during Rishankar Singh's times. There are talk about why Meteis should also be incorporated into the scheduled tribe. This has created a barrier between the communities in the state. if I can go back in history, it is the British who have introduced this typology of savages and the civilized, typical anthropological categories. So the valley people were seen as civilized, and the hill people were seen as primitive and savage. This is an anthropological concept. Under the constitutional scheme, what was described as savage has become scheduled tribe, and what was called civilized as the non-scheduled tribe. Now, in this sense, the division is deep-rooted in our categories. Now, why do Meteis demand for ST status, and why is that the rest of the other communities feel apprehensive about this move? We need to understand this again. Meteis demand for ST is because we must understand that there is a deep sense of anxiety and existential anxiety among the Meteis, that we will get extinct. We have no protection whatsoever. Our land is not protected. It's not because it is not scheduled. And we will be overwhelmed because our land and things have been open to outsiders and so on. So if the train comes in, for example, a lot of outsiders will come in and we'll be losing our position within our own. This fear is there. So the ST demand is driven essentially by this particular thing. I think the rest of the other fellow communities must understand and have empathy for this basic anxiety. Now, on the other hand, we can see that there are a certain group of Meteis who also feel that this division between the hill and valley in terms of tribal and non-tribal, despite a lot of similarities and intersections among our cultural practices and worldviews, before Christianity and Hinduism come, for example, our oneness have also been disrupted by these categories of tribe and non-tribe. Therefore, instead of asking to de-recognize the rest of the community as tribe and being non-tribe like us, it's better for us to have ourselves as a scheduled tribe, so that we are one in that sense. Our land is protected. But what happened is the rest of the other communities feel that by doing this, our land will be usurped by the Meteis and our jobs will be... I think this fear, to the best of my knowledge, is unfounded at one level. And in fact, this can also be dealt. So one classic example is in Nagaland, for example. Everybody is scheduled tribe, but within the same scheduled tribe, there are other separate arrangement where you have backward and the advanced tribes, and the reservation is done separately, and so on. So we can look for alternative ways to address these basic anxieties among many ST communities about Meteis converting. So in short, what I'm saying that there has to be a mutual understanding and address these concerns both together and chat. I think I would appeal to the ST community that they must understand these issues about how the divisions have been created among ourselves, and then searching for a common good and common ground. We're losing because of these many barriers and categories. This is, when some social science scholars would call it, is the violence of category. We are committing violence ourselves through these categories. So one way is that Meteis demand for ST must be understood, in terms of these two factors that I've said. So that's my position. I said, you demand it and I will work for this, but at the same time, you ought to address the anxieties and concern of the remaining, our fellow communities, and do something to address that in terms of something like what has been practiced in Nagaland about backward and advanced tribe kind of thing. And I think basically we need to talk and resolve these issues rather than taking a confrontationist position. That's my position.
Yeah, I think not only the leaders like you who has come out to serve the society, but the people has got that stigma in their mind about this tribalism, that this is the beginning of war, and what's happening in Manipur is because of all these things. So I hope the viewers have a lot of things to say, so you guys throw in your opinions in the comments down below also. And our sir has got his opinions that he will be sharing in other platforms also. But coming to the next one, I personally wanted to ask you this, sir, because you being an intellectual, you being a scholar, do you feel does that negates you from coming to the roots of Manipur, thinking that the voters of Manipur will think, Amadiyam Khangbanina, since he's very educated, I think he cannot relate to us. So electing him will not be very practical. Do you think
that's in Meiteis there is saying "Kan le fu, kan re fu." If you go in the one step, I'll beat you. If you don't take or you take a step backward, I'll still beat you, kind of thing. This is called in Meiteis "Ka le fu, kan re fu." You know.
Okay.
So I think sometimes we said our representatives should be educated, and we should have vision. Why should these contractors with no education come and even can't sign their signature properly? And now that is funny thing is that people like me come in and people say, oh, English ngang muna yaro, larik hai muna yaro. This is called kale fu kandre fu. Both ways you are caught. I think the fact of the matter is education is not only about degrees. It's about sense and sensibility. Fundamentally, it is about sense and sensibility, your ability to see your fellow beings in a particular manner and control your prejudices, purge your heart, and try to do certain kind of activities which is good for people. These are what we will call it. In Meiteis there is something called Lairik Laishu. Literate is not education, even in English. And you need to know basic etiquettes. For example, I've been saying that Meiteis need to change a lot. I think many of the Meiteis suffer from, I've been saying this, from imperial nostalgia. That the king's time and so on, that was a very different world. Our even togetherness is guided by the fact that you are under the same king. But today, under modern republican and democratic worldview, we are all equal. We are at the same level, whether it is women or children or this community or that community, or everybody is at the same plane. This the French Revolution says, men are men are free and equal in rights. That's a fundamental position. So traditional idea is gone. So we need to change. Similarly, I would request. You have a lot of scholars among our other communities. I told you, to be tribe and we are primitive, we are backward is a very false idea. You are not backward, you are not primitive, you are modern man. Our traditionally, British also wrote, they said Meiteis must have been like any of these tribes some 400 years ago. This is something that British have written. You know why? Because many of the practices are the same. You see? Now that many of the people in Manipur are Christianized, so their ritual and their worldview have changed, and the Meiteis have, Hindu-wise and so to speak, they have changed. But if you look at the other, there are a lot of intersectionalities, similarities, even in language. There's so much similarity. We come from the same linguistic family. As the relationship between the Khomia and the Nagas in the Naga hills when we're together as Assam is not the same as a Tangkhul or a Maram or a Meiteis or a. These are all connected people in that sense, Unnecessarily we have divided ourselves into these categories. I think youngsters who are coming in, who are a member of the global village, these parochial identities, must be confronted. If these identities become a stumbling block to finding an, equitable and mutually beneficial sort of a project, we should be partaking in it, in the same project.
So it's just something that an elderly person or a mother from my perspective, like my mom or something, this mom would like to ask you, they want to stay anonymous with their identity, but they were like, hey, what's on Dr.Bimol's mind now, because he's been a scholar for years now, before he goes to bed, what goes around his head now. So from a very layman point of view, like layman perspective, like how a normal person is thinking, like Dr.Bimol is the person who is changing the perspective of the people when it comes to the election. The traditional way of voting, the traditional way of lobbying for votes, forcing for votes has been changed. So I hope this leader can bring change. That's why even me as a Naga coming all the way from Sinapati feels that you will have something to say about it. So it's a very easy question, but yet very difficult.
Yeah, that's what
your mind before you go to bed?
I, honestly speaking, we will all die one day, and the best of our knowledge in science hasn't found anybody else than us residing on a small planet called Earth. I still remember a very famous picture of Earth taken by Voyager 1, the first man-made object that had crossed or gone beyond the solar system. Carl Sagan, a very well-known scientist, asked NASA to turn the camera from that area and take a picture of Earth. And that picture has been very popular. It's there on YouTube as well. It's called the dot.
The dot.
That, from a very distance, billions of years, miles away, they take the picture of Earth. They said, this is the dot where Christ, the Muhammad, the Lord Krishna, Buddha, or the great, conqueror like Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, Akbar the Great, all that things, all the wars, all the romantic stories about Romeo and Juliet is in that dot.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah.
There's nothing like this outside. It's a very spiritual feeling that you get it. So we all know that we'll die one day also, right? Yet, our attachment is also what makes us human beings. We love our mother, our father, our community, it's a multi-layered thing. There's also, once you expand your consciousness, you can think of ourselves as a humanity. So my idea is that you should be proud as a Maram, and then do and have an attachment and do something good for them, about your community. You're already serving humanity, right? And then expand, you have Mao around you, the Pomeis are there in your area, and be good to them as well. Expand it continuously, just as we expand our consciousness. And so I believe that if you are a humanist, you should be doing something good for your own community first. Manipur, in Meteis land we have this saying, Nasagi sumanghana silu, means clean your own courier first before trying to clean somebody else's courier, So that kind of thing. But we should not get stuck with our community, because world is too big. Universe is too big. We are the member of that dot. I'm not going to romanticize at one level like John Lennon would say, imagine there is no country. I mean, that consciousness should also be there. But at the same time, humanity serving is serving your country, your community. But it should not be a parochial nationalism, which will only lead to Nazi kind of a project. That's not the nationalism that we should be thinking about. I think this is the way I see. So I'm attached to Manipur. I love this is a childhood indoctrination, you can call it. I have deep sense of attachment to not only Meteis, but all our communities. I feel good. When I meet a Tangkul, it's very natural. For me, if I see you outside somewhere in the US or in Kerala or something, I say, oh, you're Maram, then I will have certain immediate sense of affinity and then what's happening like that. It's very human in that level. So I think we should celebrate this part of our existence as well. Why all the time trying to build walls?
I have also seen one of your interviews, which I forgot, but you talk about how the girls are not safe, like
I have been very vocal about it, in fact.
If you want to say, what you say?
I have said this, you should check it. There is an interview on Lok Sabha TV, okay? Since my college days, I feel very offended because our girls have been looked down upon. I said they have all the right to wear whatever kind of clothes that they want. They want to party hard, let them do it. If they are studying well, my only advice to youngsters is just as you party hard, study hard, because you've been sent out by your parents to study. That's the only advice I gave. And also try to see the etiquettes, you should maintain it, but nobody should dictate you what to wear, what not to wear. It's your call. So in one of the interviews I said to Paranjoy Gua in Lok Sabha TV, I think it is in 2014, I said if the top tanks and hot pans and spaghettis were only worn by girls from the northeast, all these boutiques and big shops in metropolitan cities would have gone bankrupt long time back. Exactly, you have heard this me saying. And I also dare to say that the attitude of looking down on our women is a colonized mindset. It happened during the colonial period. The colonizers always looked down upon the colonized woman as morally loose, promiscuous, because they want to establish the moral superiority of themselves as the colonizers. That's why they do it. And I said, I'm sorry to say this, is the same thing the mainstream India is doing on our girls. I said it like that in that interview.
Someone who has a very strong opinion on this, not now, but since I know years, it's really like, on one angle, I feel like we would really want you to win also for this regard, especially. If not for, if not
I have seen, I have suffered as a, people calling me all kinds of names.
can have a voice even in the parliament also,
yeah.
because you can stand for it. But now coming back to the inner assembly election, if you have-
Parliamentary, not
parliamentary
assembly.
election, sorry,
I can't dare to enter assembly elections.
sorry. It's okay. So, we wanted to know your takes on your other candidates who are contending for this.
Now they're doing according to what they think they should be doing it. I can't say much on them. If people think that they are better, let the people choose. I have nothing to say. In democracy, it's not what I think. It is what people think at the end of the day. As an intellectual, or as a member of the as a member of the community, as a citizen, all that I can do is try to say something to the people, to see things in a particular manner. You know, that's what I've been saying. Well, be that on tribal issues, on inter-community relationship, or on women and so on. It's as a leader, I think my belief is that leaders should not take advantage of the people's ignorance on, or misconception of the people, or exploiting, misleading them. Rather, you should lead them to see things in a particular manner. I think that's the role of the leader. So everybody, community leaders, intellectuals, teachers, politicians, they should be leading the people to see things in a better way, rather than exploiting people's ignorance or injecting misinformation or disinformation campaign. I think that's the way I see it.
And also a very unfortunate about yesterday's incident.
Yeah, that's
Friday thing.
Before that, they have even tried to force me to withdraw.
Okay.
It came on the paper. If you miss it.
So you being a teacher, you being a guru to us, how can a person like you can be attacked on such perspective? Meaning you wanted to serve the people. You just came out of your comfort zone, not because you wanted power alone, but you wanted to serve the people. You wanted to bring justice. But what do you feel like when these things happen to you? Do you expect this to happen? Or?
This is part of reality. There's in psychology there is something called rational emotive therapy. We said that everybody should love you, or everybody would hate you. These are called false belief. There will be people who hate you. There will be people who love you. This is part of the game. I expect them. Though of course it exposes certain people's claim for love for the state, and it turns out that money matters more than anything else. If somebody paid me something, I would do all kinds of criminal acts, intimidations and violence and so on. So there are all kinds of people on this world. The only thing is that people like those who are swayed by money and who doesn't have principal positions, they should be fewer in number. When they dominate, society collapses.
Exactly.
When the rest of the people are majority, and when we assert, it both are required. Simply being a majority, if you remain silent, it doesn't make sense. So this when we try to make a majority of the people work on certain principled ground, and we stand up for ourselves as a people, then only then the society will change.
Actually, sir, we have someone from Ukrul, a professor. So I asked some people from other districts also if they want to ask, because Sir Bimol is going to be very intimidating for me also. I haven't done any interviews like.
Why should I be intimidating to you?
Because you are you. So I don't know.
So you are you as much as I am I. So why should you be afraid?
But also, this is the first interview of a kind that I'm doing, and then I know the elections are just 7 days away, and this is very hectic for me. But I have to throw in this question because this guy asked, you are someone who advised both CM Biren and former CM Ipobi Singh to look into the disparities between the hill districts and the valley districts. You also advocated for genuinely addressing the grievances of the hill people. How have the work been?
You see, that's why I've come in now. Advising them doesn't work. So now I've become part of it. At least within my party, I can influence them. I said it ought to be done. Now I am inside. Bahar se, you are standing outside knocking at there, please do this, please do that. Sometimes they open the door and bolo, say what you want to say. Then I said and I walked out of the room and they do something else. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Now if I am constantly inside the room, then I'll be troubling them. You ought to do this, ought to do that. And hopefully, although I can't say this because as of now, I don't have any political ambitions. God willing, if I've completed my task, why I have come in, I would love to go back And you know, I love singing. And I love.
Yeah.
In fact, people were shocked the other day when I make them listen to my Scorpion number. They say, "Oh, you sing like this," kind of thing. I love to sing and make movies and teach, do research. I love my student. You know, in fact, it's a very painful decisions to come and I saw many of my students crying when they come to know that I am contesting this and I might be leaving it. So
I came to know you first, and I also heard about you. There was some few years back. There was you as a filmmaker, as a writer, saying that there is
I do
this-
that. It's in my blood. My mother used to say I have taken the wrong profession. You know, I should have been a singer,
Okay.
stuff like that.
So, yeah, I mean, thank you. I really appreciate for your time. But, sir, before I come to the end, let me reverse the interview by asking you the most asked question. What would be, had you, I mean, if you win these elections or your party comes into power and you also win, what would be your first 3 priorities or agendas? That has been asked everywhere, but we want to know that.
See, there is always, whatever you do your stuff, there is a larger framework. My larger framework is a united Manipur where everybody, as individual as well as collective, as communities, must be able to live with a sense of dignity and well-being. That's my goal. That's the kind of a vision that I work for. So in that process, all the other activities follows from there. And if we become like that, we should be able to contribute to the national affair in India as well as globally. We should be able to do that. That's a general framework within which I want to pursue all my activities. The first thing within that I would be doing, driven by the immediacy of the issue, is to ensure that all these people in relief camp go back to their original places and lead a life with dignity and well-being. That's what I will be pressing people to do it. All those people who have left their homes must be able to go back to their places. That will be my number 1 priority for me. Second is this division, you know, economic impact of this crisis, both in the hill or valley. I have already formed a committee headed by a retired economic professor from JNU, internationally well known. I have requested him to chair, and I have requested some of our well-known entrepreneurs in the state, you know, big people who runs hospitality industries and so on. So I've requested them to be a member of the team. We'll be doing an economic assessment, and step by step we'll look at how to assess the impact of the present crisis to a larger vision plan of what kind of economic development we can pursue using state, market and the community resources, all the 3 resources. So there's the second step that I would be pursuing it. The third would be, you know, ensure that this education sector, you know, and the kind of quality educations. I'm trying to launch a virtual, you know, coaching class, or you can call it university. We'll have a summer courses. People can enroll to online, and then I'll be asking my friends from across the globe, my students who have been teaching for 20 years in universities abroad or here, and well-known professors to run the courses for 1 month as an additional or supplement to what people are learning from colleges. That's what I intend to do. These
Thank
3
you so much, sir. It's worth every second. So we wish you.
Thank
from
you.
our side, we wish- Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
sir. Thank you so much, guys. So this is the end. It has been an uncut interview for us. So it's been amazing. And please choose the right leader and don't use any external power or force to go vote this time. But go vote for the one who you feel is the right one. Bye bye.